everyone. Welcome to another episode of Simply Nerdy. I'm your host, Steven. I'm joined today by the crew. Today we got some nerdy news we're going to go over because this week was packed with nerdy news, and just recently, there's just been all kinds of things going on in the world. Starting with Dragonsteel Nexus 2024. Now, in case you haven't heard, or if you've unfortunately participated, the site tabletop event, it was a terrible user experience. The site crashed many times. But 1,500 tickets of the VIP pass and 6,000 regular tickets were sold out in an hour.
Wait, didn't you say it was like 40 minutes?
I thought it was 40 minutes, but I guess it was an hour.
Man.
Yeah, it was fast, and it was so hard to get that one ticket that I got. We'll get into that in just a second, but Brandon Sanderson warned tabletop events to add servers in preparation because he was expecting a high number of traffic based on, his record of crashing every site he goes on. But they did listen. They listened. They added more servers, but it wasn't enough. It still crashed. And our hearts go out to anyone unable to get tickets. Brandon Sanderson is going to be handing out his family friends tickets to anyone who purchased flights to Utah and cannot get refunded. David, I'm going to give it over to you because you had a good point.
Right. So I did listen to some of his video explaining how things went. The convention center where it's taking place apparently only allows you to book enough convention space based on hotel. I was going to say tickets. That's not the right word.
Hotel bookings.
Hotel bookings, yes.
Yep.
So based on the amount of hotel bookings that happened the previous year.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what?
Yeah, apparently.
Yes.
That's how that convention center works. And it's a kind of a weird system, but so it limits pretty severely. It doesn't account for like things growing a lot in a year amount of time.
Nope.
So they've got that weird system, and it severely limits how much space. Because the Salt Palace is huge, all right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was surprised. I've walked through it. I've seen like it when it's just gigantic space that's empty. They've got plenty of space there if they were willing to be flexible.
Give it to us.
Yeah.
Dang it.
So
Brandon, yeah, and we can't. And then there's going to be no more tickets added because of that. Last year was a terrible year to judge how many people are going to come this year because it wasn't even a Cosmere book from last year.
yeah, Stormlight is immensely more popular than Skyward.
Significantly. But yeah, so anyone who are unable to get tickets, we are so sorry. I was able to get one, and we were lucky to get more for the rest of the panel, most of us anyway, to go. This is simply because we're going to have a booth. Simply Nerdy, Technically Mexican, and Shelf Help Gaming. We're all cousins on those three YouTube channels and podcasts. A title pending for our booth. It's not going to be called Simply Nerdy, Technically Mexican, and Shelf Help Gaming. What a mouthful. But come over to our booth and check us out. We're going to have I have a 7-foot-long Oathbringer shard blade I'm going to give out as a prize because my wife won't let me keep it after the conference. She says, Get rid of this thing.
Don't break your oath, Steve.
I'm gonna break my oath. Like, you're right, I am. Dang, I'm gonna kill a friend. You heard it here first. And then we'll have a Diamondback 3D printer nozzle giveaway, and we'll have some Simply Nerdy merch there. There's gonna be some music CDs you can purchase from Technically Mexican, and a lot more to do there. So, yeah, come check us out. And then also tune into our channel for live episodes every day during the Dragonsteel convention, as well as additional coverage throughout the days. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot going on here at the Simply Nerdy channel during this event. But anything else you guys want to?
We should call it Technically Nerdy Gaming.
Ooh.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah,
I'm going to write that down. Wait, what?
What?
What'd you say?
Technically nerdy gaming.
What else you guys want to say about the convention? Like, we were able to get you guys tickets, but dang, that was a crazy.
I know. And okay, so I guess what I was gonna say is that I'm a little pansy who can't stand attempting to get on a site and purchase something when the site fights me, and so is everybody else. I just get super stressed out, and so I decided, if I just wait a bit, then I'll probably be able to get a ticket, right? And and then it won't be like during a big rush. And I was very wrong. So
Waiting was not the answer this
was
time.
not
My
the
word.
answer.
I wish it was. It
Nope.
wasn't years past. It's never been like this.
And if you
Brandon
were like,
Sanderson himself said that in years past, the site has always worked for him. This
Oh,
never
man.
happened before, and that they're experiencing some growing pains, and this is just part of it, unfortunately.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing that's funny too is last year's Dragonsteel event, I remember him saying, was the biggest yet. And there was still plenty of tickets left over from what I recall. But
Yeah,
you know,
right?
Yep.
this is a very different experience.
Yeah, because last time I basically waited like months, and then Steven was like, "Hey, Lisa, you should get a ticket," and so I did. And actually, probably.
And then we forgot
Anyway.
to sign up for events to go to.
Oh my gosh.
We're not going to make the mistake this year, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Especially after.
Especially after this. Yeah, I wonder if tabletop, you better get some servers when the events and signups go live. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
we had to use witchcraft to get tickets, so
We did.
we need to. I don't even know what the witchcraft was.
But there was some witchcraft in there.
But
Steven
anyway.
said Accio tickets.
Yeah.
Yes!
I'm gonna try and resist the call of the merch line.
We're never doing that again.
It was a nightmare standing there for 3
Nope.
hours.
I'm buying my merch online. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh. We stood in line for 3 hours in case you didn't tune in to our coverage last year.
Yeah.
We stood in line for 3 hours waiting to get to the merch, got to the merch, and going to check out. 3 hours, man. We were done the rest of the day. We were like, ready to go home. That's all
Yeah.
we want to do today.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. We're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 because Anthony was not here during our live stream that we had. There was a bunch
Heck,
of...
Anthony.
yeah, thank you, Anthony. I'm just kidding. Anthony thought he wanted to go on
On
vacation.
vacation.
yeah.
What makes you think you get to go on vacation without
real.
the crew? Just kidding.
For real. I was
Yeah.
kidding.
I mean, you
But
guys
the
wanted to.
Nintendo Switch, Anthony, Nintendo acknowledged its existence and said it would be revealed in the next fiscal year.
I'm very excited to hear finally some official acknowledgement of its existence after all the theorizing we've done over the past several years. That sounds like classic Nintendo, which is okay. I can wait. I've done it this long. I'm just excited that they've finally said something official, and I'm ready for them to tell us more.
So the rumored specs, the Nintendo Switch 2 is rumored to support DLSS. It's going to have an 8-inch LCD screen, 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage. It's rumored to be bigger than the Switch and have bigger Joy-Con.
I have a question for those of us that are filthy casuals. What is DLSS?
It stands for Deep Learning Super Sampling. It's, as I understand it, an AI-based upscaling technique. It basically takes an image that's natively put out at a lower resolution and then uses the AI to
Upscale.
to basically predict where the additional pixels would be and upscales it. And for all intents and purposes, it looks functionally equivalent to something that is putting out at a native higher resolution.
So it's like zoom in and enhance on all
Yeah.
Zoom in, enhance, and do it in real time, and looks just as good and performs just as good as a
Okay.
native 4K machine.
And the advantage is that it performs better, right? Because native
I have heard
4K,
it does perform better than native. Yeah, it's
You need-
crazy.
you need more powerful hardware to have native 4K, whereas the AI can do some magic where you don't need as powerful hardware, but it can still look pretty much functionally as good.
Alrighty.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I always find it a little funny when people are like, well, it's not native. And I'm like, okay, but does that matter? I mean, can you, other than your acknowledgement in your brain that you are playing native 4K, does that mean anything other than you just being able to flex about it? Doesn't really. Anyway, and it seems like a really sensible way to get portable hardware to be capable of 4K outputs, or at least 4K appearance, which is all I care about.
Agreed.
And I don't even need 4K. I have and probably always will be fine with 1080p. So if I can get more and have it perform just as great, then cool, I'll take it.
I just need 4K 60 frames a second. That's all. Never need any more than that. Nope.
Okay.
Oh crap! I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Oh,
We have to talk about storage because Nintendo always releases their hardware with only 32 gigabytes of storage.
There was
This is finally 256 gigabytes of storage and 12 gigabytes of RAM. This is all rumors. I don't know if this was a rumor I heard or just something I'm hoping, but I thought I heard that it is rumored to be slightly more powerful than a PlayStation 4. Is that correct? Am I making that up?
That was one of the previous rumors.
I feel like it's been repeated a number of times. So, I mean, it seems like it's, we're getting enough corroboration that it seems believable. Yeah, no, and I've heard some suggesting that it will actually, be slightly. Well, I guess it's just like you said, just slightly better. But I feel like visually it's going to look even better than that because of the DLSS. So I think it's probably going to have the guts similar to a PS4, perhaps, but capable of doing more. I could be totally wrong. I'm not a technical person here. I've never really cared about pixel counting, but even if from a resolution and appearance standpoint that it looks just PS4 and that's it, that's still, I feel like all I'll ever really need. At least from a visual standpoint, because. I'm of the opinion, at the very least, that the difference between the graphical output of the PS4 and the PS5 has been the most understated difference in basically every console generation gap ever. It's and so
the AI, the DLSS or whatever. Once again, I'm not technical either when it comes to game consoles. Do you think it will make it so that it has to breathe really hard, like it's gonna have to have mega fans in order to keep itself cool from all its processing?
It's a good question. I would hope that they find a way to balance it good.
Yeah, because I mean, if you have a tiny little device, you don't tend to have room for fans. So, I mean, for big fans, I guess. I'm not like.
There's always room for more Nintendo fans.
Well, I was waiting for the joke to happen from someone. I'm a big fan.
Your mom is a big fan. Oh, sorry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm just. Yeah.
The jokes were there, but I withheld my tongue. But you guys made up for it.
We are now going to transition to the terrible state of Xbox. So. Microsoft, you are painting a very terrible picture of Xbox this year. They started the year with thousands of employees laid off at Microsoft, and it's just been continually going downhill. The most recent layoffs happened with 3 studios. They shut down 3 studios to cut costs. One of them was Tango Gameworks, who developed Hi-Fi Rush, as well as Arcane Austin and Alpha Dog. What do you guys want to say about this? Because this is absolutely horrible. I've been through layoffs. They are awful. They're terrible. Doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on, if you stay or if you go. It kills culture, and it really hurts. This is really going to hurt the Xbox ecosystem, as well as the culture over there. And I will be honest, I don't know if there's a reason for me to keep my Xbox Series S anymore. There's going to be nothing releasing for it, and I feel like I could possibly sell this thing and, put the money toward the Switch too. I don't know, man. What do you guys think?
The most bizarre is definitely like getting rid of Hi-Fi Rush, because they've had a lot of praise for that game. It's had a lot of critical acclaim in general from fans. And
won an award at the Game Awards.
Yeah, and it's and they've even said something along the lines of, "We want to develop more smaller scale titles like Hi-Fi Rush." Like
So
they may have even said that after doing this, where they laid off the studio that made it. So wow, okay, I think it's a weird decision, and there's no way for them to look good with that decision. they've of course done their corporate talk of
Yep. I was
trying to
going to say,
justify.
they've done some corporate talk and some interviews, and they do a terrible job of explaining why they did it.
What was their nonsense? What did they spout?
You know, it was so nonsensical that it doesn't even stick in my head. But it was
It didn't
something
even
like,
make sense. It didn't make sense. They just
was like-
dodged the question. That's what they
yeah,
did.
something along the lines of, "This will be good for long-term growth," or I don't know. Anyway,
Oh yeah, no, I do remember it,
Yep.
for long-term company health, something to that effect. But it's just like, okay, which chief officer didn't have their salary dropped? How many of them got to keep their multi-million-dollar salaries in the name of dropping all these? I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like there's kind of a gross, long corporate shadow, looming over
Yes,
gaming right now.
Absolutely.
To use the phrase of one of our fellow, fans and listeners. And anyway,
In the Discord.
yeah, it's part of me kind of feels like this is all like the acceleration of what I feel like has been happening to gaming for a long time. I've said it on a lot of our recordings before that I feel like the mad rush for power and having that be kind of the focus, always bigger and better in terms of performance and visuals and things like that is kind of killing the industry. And I feel like now we're starting to see how quickly it's, how far it's gotten. Feels like we're kind of hitting a climax of sorts that, these big corporations that have had, decent success in the past are now basically shooting themselves in their own foot, with successful studios in the name of long-term fiscal health. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
So,
Very short-sighted there, Microsoft. And we also see a lot of corporate rearing their ugly head over at PlayStation as well. With shoot, someone else take this over for me.
I just say there's been a few games, it seems like, where PlayStation has really got on the wrong side of fans, but it sounds like Anthony has the knowledge.
Well,
there.
I mean, sure. So I think the big one right now is the situation with Helldivers 2. That game released to pretty strong acclaim. It seemed like a lot of people really were enjoying it, and then
It's pretty great.
that they should make it so that the people who enjoyed it can't play it anymore. They're like, you were supposed to have a PlayStation Network account this whole time.
Yep.
And I don't know if that really was part of this the fine print before, and it wasn't applied like they claim, but it seems pretty convenient, and I don't know what they're actually getting out of it. All I know is that it's created an army of angry fans that have review bombed the game into oblivion, which is sad because I understand it's still quite fun. But I mean, what can you do if you lock out? What was it like? 180 different countries that can't play the game anymore that were able to before, but they can't now because PSN isn't available in those countries.
It was something like that. Yeah, and it's not even the game developer's decision. That was PlayStation. It's PlayStation saying, "Nope, you need a PlayStation Network ID to play this game now." And the developers of that game were like, "What?" But we released months ago. Like, now you're cutting, and then they get review bombed. Like, it wasn't even their fault.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel bad for the developers.
Insane.
But
Another game was like Ghosts of Tsushima, I think, if I said that correctly. But it's apparently PlayStation removed the game, caused it to be removed from Steam, or delisted from Steam from like 180 territories because of the PSN requirement. So that was another game where it's just looking ugly what PlayStation's doing.
Yeah. I feel like I've thought for a long time that Sony kind of has a really high opinion of themselves, and I feel like this is a manifestation of that. So I don't know. It seems like they're starting to feel the pain of making such stupid decisions, because it sounds like they've kind of reversed at least their statements for PSN requirements for Helldivers 2. Although there's apparently still some implementation that they haven't done yet, so people are still locked out of the game.
I'm kind of worried
Anyway.
though, the right people aren't feeling the pain. Like,
Yes.
are developers feeling the pain when it's not their fault? Or are the weirdos who made be like, you know what, this game's really popular. Let's make it so that it just, doesn't work for half everybody.
I don't know. Austin, you've been a little quiet, bro. You have anything to say? Sorry, I don't know if you give me enough time.
No, you're good. I don't know what to say. You guys have pretty much summed up a lot of my thoughts regarding each of these things. I think it's sad, both the Xbox situation and the PlayStation situation. I think a lot of developers are kind of getting screwed over. They feel like, a lot of them have just been like, hey, we just developed this really amazing game. It's performing really well. With Xbox, it's congratulations, you're fired. And
oh my gosh.
And so, it kind of not demoralizes, but a lot of that too. A lot of other companies, a lot of other developers are kind of unsure of what their future has in store, and so they probably hesitate to perform to their best. That incentive isn't quite as great. And then you have this situation with Helldivers where people have to have a PlayStation account, and then of course they had to walk that back because it caused so much controversy, and like Anthony said, who knows if they've fully implemented that or not. I think it's still in the works.
But they took it back, which was a big win for the gamers.
Right. I mean, that was,
at least for the time being. I hope they don't try that again.
Yeah, that was huge that the community was able to come together and kind of join arms to be like, no, this isn't going to work.
Yeah. So something that what Austin said made me think of is that for a long time I've felt like the places where the true spirit of gaming lives is in indie studios for the most part. Like maybe there's a few in the big studios, but I feel like the corporate part of it is like dragging down the creative part of it. Because I feel like there's a lot of indie games that are just super passionate, and they make something that like, even though it's small, is amazing in quality and something that I haven't seen a million times, which I really get sick of. That's one of the reasons why I really want to support indie games when they happen, is because I want to foster that, because it is a huge disincentive, I guess, when you feel like you go to work and if you do a bad job, then you're done. And if you do a good job, then you're done. Like, you're doing a bad job, you're fired. Oh, you did a great job, you're fired. Like, I feel like if there were more indie studios, people would maybe have some hope, Well,
and in the interim too, like, let's not just talk about the endpoints of being success or failure, but I think in the interim, developers are subjected to what corporations consider the standard of development hells and crunch times, and like it sounds like being a game developer is the most miserable career in the world right now. And
no kidding.
Well, especially when companies like what Xbox had done with those studios, where I heard that one of the reasons why they wanted to close those studios was to secure those IPs. They're basically saying, if we close down your studio won't have the opportunity to leave and go make, content for.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Actually, though, I wonder too if that's tied in. So there's something else I was going to throw out. So Lisa was talking about kind of the hope of gaming existing in places like with indies. I was actually going to list basically the three things that still give me hope for gaming. That indies, I think, is one of the frontiers, the true frontiers of gaming right now, because we're having these games that look like they could have come out on the Super Nintendo, but they're better than anything that we're getting AAA lately. And so
quadruple A.
Yeah, they're all quadruple A. Don't forget.
Anyway.
Yeah. But on top of that, one thing I heard recently in the news, gaming news, that I don't feel like I have a full perfect grasp on, but I'll try to speak to what I understand of it. There's been a law in the United States for quite a while now that has to do with non-compete clauses, something to that effect, that makes it so that when people work for a studio and then they leave that studio, they can't make games or content that could be seen as competition, and that's incredibly restricting because, in legalese you can throw that net pretty wide. And so basically, if you work, it sounds to me under that system, if you work for a big studio and then you leave, you can't get any other job ever again because there's a million ways to interpret what non-compete is. But my understanding is that recently that was repealed. I guess maybe I don't know if that's the right word for it, but they're pulling that back. This non-compete clause is being taken away, and apparently that's like the best thing possible for indie studios, because now these people that were leaving the big companies and then being held by law to prevent them from pursuing their creative endeavors have that removed now. So my understanding is that indies are only going to get even better now.
If that's true, good for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on top of that, it makes me think that not only will indies benefit, but maybe some of the bigger studios too, because, if someone's working for one big studio and they decide they want to go to another, they're not going to be prevented from getting a job by these ridiculous requirements.
Yeah, and I hope it will incentivize studios to treat their developers right.
Yeah. Yeah, you think think
they could leave and go somewhere else.
For sure.
Because currently they're probably just like, well, they can't, if they leave, they can't go somewhere else. So, I'm sorry, I talked over you a little bit, Ant. Can you say the last thing you said again?
No, I think that's basically what I was going to say. I think that it's definitely going to help developers. It's going to help gamers. It's going to increase not only the volume but the quality of content that we get. I think we're already seeing kind of a renaissance of indie gaming in general, and I think this is only going to accelerate that. So I'm really excited about that. And then on top of that, this is coming from me as a Nintendo fan, but I think Nintendo is another one of those safe houses for real game design. I mean, say what you will about their business decisions. There's a lot of things I don't like about how they approach business, but
such as, I'm curious what things were.
Their approach to legacy content curation is terrible, or at least has been.
Yeah.
Their approach to online has always been very retrogressive. So there's a number of things they do where I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But for the most part, at the end of the day, what I care about in gaming is the quality of the games, and I feel like that's something that they've always been solid on. Whatever you can say about how good their games look or don't look, especially now when we have studios like Square Enix saying, we're done with PlayStation, Sony exclusivity. We're losing money constantly, so we're not going to do this anymore. In an age when it seems like exclusives are dying, Nintendo has kind of always had solid exclusives, and they're likely to continue in that vein. So, I feel like probably some of the best passion I've seen in gaming probably has come from, and creativity has probably come from indies. But, at the same time, my two favorite video games of all time are Nintendo exclusives. And I guess my thesis for all this is gaming feels like it's in a pretty bad place on the whole, as far as like the wider industry, as we can see with what's going on with, most corporations. But I feel like indies, and I mean, this is my personal opinion, but indies and Nintendo are going to save gaming. And that's actually kind of ironic if you think about it, because Nintendo saved video games the first time way back in the 80s. Video games were crashing and were going to die, and then Nintendo came out with the NES and basically saved it. And now it seems like they and the indies are going to pull that off again.
Woot.
Anyway, if you guys enjoyed our discussion today about just various news topics, then please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It really helps us out, and we really enjoy hearing from you guys as well. So if you have any opinions about the various topics we've discussed today, please let us know in the comments, and let us know what you think the future of gaming looks like. Because while looks like there's kind of a lot of crap going on right now, it seems like there's still some silver linings that that will still let us have good games in the future. And that's something we're all looking forward to. But yeah, thanks for listening, and until next time, keep it nerdy.
Keep it nerdy.
Keep it nerdy.